Hello. This video is connected to information and is touching two topics. One is a small, just an idea, and the other is some description of different people as how they handle information. The first idea, it's, as I said, it's a small one, and is equality or equation that information is very strongly connected, or it's almost the same as mass or matter. So reader, and what do I mean by this? That information is we handle as a notion that is very subjective, and even though if it's true, it's always realistic. It's always connected to something. If we take this typical example of information that is binary digits, then these binary digits, you can say that is information, and this has nothing to do with mass or matter. But unless we are looking at it as a theoretical possibility to exist, it has to be materialized. It has to connect with matter. Either these have to be stones, white stones and black stones, and white stone, black stone, and so on, or different radio waves that are built by electrons. So information from one side, we can say that always requires that mass should be there, and the change in the mass, what is a material level process, is what can code information. And the other direction of this equation is that wherever mass is, due to the gravity and due to other type of relations that matter has to other parts of the universe, it's always sending out and spreading information. So if I have here m mass ball, and I move this ball in this space, in this area of the three-dimensional space, and it appears here, this action immediately creates information, and is not very much differing from this 1-0, because we can say that when this space was empty, we can take it as 0, and as soon as this ball has entered, it is 1. So that's a very short just idea that information and mass are very strongly connected, and it's not a mathematical description what I presented, but more a philosophical one, and I just wanted to underline the strong relationship in between the two. The second idea is very this was very theoretical. This is maybe might be even too practical, because it goes to people and how we perceive people. And when you all might know, if this is not my first video that you see, that I'm looking at people as systems that are transforming information inputs into outputs. And this information can be when you read, when you listen to music, TV, when you are browsing the internet. So these inputs can vary very much, and output is also, you can imagine, it's not rocket science. Is when you write, when you speak, when you compose a song or make a presentation, and so on and so on. What is interesting is inside, because inside, from the rapid repeated restructuring paradigm, we know that inside there are connections of the subsystems. Here we can find subsystems of ourselves, the so-called cognitive schemata. And these cognitive schemata are interconnected, and these connections they seize and they are created. So if from an external point of view we are looking at it, it's all and always restructuring and restructuring. And this is the theoretical description of what we all find familiar, that we speak in ourselves when we are thinking. So when you speak with yourself in your own room, or you are dreaming or imagining something, then you are not doing else than restructuring the connections of your schemas in order to solve a specific problem. Even if you don't know that there is a problem, in lucky situation there is a output of your activity, and usually two separate things restructured, you connect and you integrate into one. The integrated psychology paradigm describes this process very in details. What happens when you are integrating two separated things into a higher level one. But whatever, when you are thinking, you are on a problem, or just daydreaming, or imagining a trip, or imagining how a specific situation, you are structuring better and better your schemas. And what do I mean by better and better? And here comes the inputs. The inputs, all of us, we, at least those who try to be realistic, the reality that comes from outside of us, from extra system, from the environment, and this is called usually in a system theory environment, we handle as facts, as something that we have to adapt to. Of course, there is a possibility to change these inputs, but most of them are kind of cornerstones that we have to adapt. And as long as between these inputs they aren't just flowing through us, creating an output very clearly, but there is a conflict in between these two information group, or there is just one information that is not fitting to the overall picture. So one information and the overall picture, we have many. We cannot say that we understand the environment, and that's why we try to either to investigate this information or the conflicting information in more details, what is below the information in a lower level, the details of this information, to understand the conflict in between these two information. When we are investigating the information's details, then typically from an external point of view, we can be seen as an active person. So, for example, a mouse which is in a labyrinth, in a maze, trying to get out, then this small mouse is checking the walls of the maze, and by this investigating the information coming from the environment in order to get out of the maze. So it's an activity. But when we feel that all this information, so all this, this and this and this and this, so all this information we have in our mind, or the representation of this information is in our mind, then we have nothing to do than focus on our internal processes and trying this information, what we're here, are represented within ourselves as models, and we try to restructure them somehow to connect them in a proper way in order to get a harmony, to get a harmonic integrated picture of the environment. Let's say an example. Imagine a teenager in a school, in a class, where informations are his or her classmates, and has no comprehensive picture of how is the class internal structure built. So who is with whom, who is friends with the other, who are hating each other, who are loyal to each other, and of course it's always a process, and I know that it's maybe not the best example, but this girl or boy tries to play the puzzle and put together this puzzle of which classmates fits with whom, and how are different groups and subgroups in his class, and as long as this classmate's behavior fits to his or her model or a theory of the internal structure of the class, our teenager feels well. Whenever somebody doesn't behave according to this model, we feel as this structure to be refined. So, and this is with all groups and with mass problems and whatever. You have received all the information. Let's suppose there is no reason why to dig more in. Then you start to restructure, and the output what you create, you are testing it. You are testing with other information whether your output was fitting to the pieces of information that you already have. So, but this process can be on much higher levels, like the reason of living, or ethical questions, or the existence of God. Whatever can be a much longer process than solving a problem, and people just are spending time when they are free and they don't have intellectual capacities are not used for everyday problem solving. They are just progressing and creating different small theories, small models of a specific question, and they are progressing as long as they feel that they have found something interesting. When they have found something interesting, they are communicating it. They are trying to share this output, and this is when they start to write, speak, whatever. You all know this feeling that you are just sitting somewhere alone, thinking, and you are calling a friend of you, or your wife or husband, saying, "Hey, I found out why in this film, or this person behaved like this or that, or what happened, or do you remember that detail, why was that interesting or why not?" So that's this sharing of the new setup you have already created. And now I hopefully I arrived to the original idea what I presented here, that they are different people, because the amount of information we have here, we have already recorded, can be processed very detailed or just on the surface. If you are processing in very details, and if you are lucky, then you will have different outputs that is worth sharing. If you don't let enter too much information in your system, then you don't have what to reprocess or process and how to create new outputs. Then you are just transforming the very basic information that the strongest information that you have received, and you are producing a behavior, an output, very simply. Or the other thing is that you have received a lot of information, but somehow you are not recording it well. You can say that you forgot it. So there is on this long procedure, you have no chance on producing outputs. So that's why, at least myself, I have identified 2 or maybe 3 types of people. One is that I would say input focused and enjoying receiving inputs, and these inputs are novelties for them, and they are happy to connect with their existing information. And others are output focused, meaning for me that in this as systems, they are producing much more outputs than as many inputs they receive. Because, as said earlier, it's a kind of personality trait how deep and how long and how persistent you are restructuring the information that you already have, and you are connecting to other information, and how much time you are spending with this puzzle type of game. And of course we have this shallow type of people who are more active, and they are just reacting on information and immediately producing outputs without registering and memorizing and receiving information. So these type of people are maybe reading a lot, listening to music a lot, and not producing too much, because their mental energies are allocated to connect the new information to those information that they already have, instead of creating new information. These ones who are communicating much more, they maybe from external point of view you see that they are not receiving too much information, they are not traveling. You can say that they're introvert, but introvert is not the best word, because introvert can be this person also who is reading a lot. It's more internal focused, I would say, and external focused is the one who is going for the inputs. So I just would like to recommend you to check you with those people you know well, what type they are, because it's a very general attitude of like eating a lot instead of eating slowly and enjoying the taste, and being like a gourmet. So you will hopefully understand something very deep about people, and about their intellectual capacities, about their creativity, about their speed of thinking, about the detail of the information that they need for a decision, and in general it gives a completely new way of looking at persons, compared to those personality psychology theories that personality psychology already had about introverts and extroverts and the different